Srimad Bhagavatam class by ISKCON Portland Temple. We are studying Canto 1 and chapter number 15 these days. And today we'll be covering verse number 33, in which Kunti Maharani departs from this world after hearing about the disappearance of Bhagwan Sri Krishna. But before we get started, let's chant the Mangalacharan prayers to invoke the blessings of all our previous acharyas. Prabhuji, shall I share my screen to show the
Yes,
prayers
Mataji.
maybe? Yeah. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोऽस्तु ते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. I'll also chant the invocation prayers for Srimad Bhagavatam before we get started, as it is a Srimad Bhagavatam class. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः. Okay, so let's now go over the verse for today, which is Srimad Bhagavatam 1.15.33. So I'll share my screen again and we can recite that verse a few times. Yeah, so this the chapter going on is about the Pandavas retire timely. And all this is happening after Arjun has brought back the news about disappearance of Bhagwan Sri Krishna. Okay. वृथाप्यनुश्रुत्य धनञ्जयोदितं नाशं यदूनां भगवद्गतिं च ताम् एकान्तभक्त्या भगवत्यधोक्षजे निवेशितात्मो पररां संस्मृते वृथाप्यनुश्रुत्य धनञ्जयोदितं नाशं यदूनां भगवद्गतिं च ताम् एकान्तभक्त्या भगवत्यधोक्षजे निवेशितात्मो पररां संस्मृते वृथाप्युनुसृत्य धनञ्जयोदितं नाशं यदूनां भगवद्गतिं च ताम् एकान्तभक्त्या भगवत्यधोक्षजे निवेशितात्मोपररां संस्मृते. Would any other devotees like to chant the verse?
Hare Krishna Mataji. I'll give it a try.
जी.
Vritapi anushrutya dhananjayoditam nasham yadunam bhagavat-gatim chatam ekanta bhaktya bhagavatya dokshaje niveshitatmo pararama samshrite. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Any other devotees?
I would like to try Mataji.
Yes, please. Thank you, Vijay.
प्रत्यापनुश्रुत्या धनञ्जयोदितं नाशं यदूनां गतिं च ताम् एकान्तभक्त्या भगवतदोक्षजे निवेशितात्मोपरराम संश्रेत. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Vijay.
I can try.
Yeah, thank you.
वृथापि अनुश्रित्य धनञ्जयोदितं नाशं यदूनां भगवद्गतिं च ताम् एकान्तभक्त्या भगवत्यधोक्षजे निवेशितात्मोपरराम संसृते.
Thank you. Any other devotee would like to chant? If not, then we'll move on to the synonyms section. Okay. So, Pritha is the name of Kunti. Api, also. Anushrutya, overhearing. Dhananjay, Arjun. Uditam, uttered by. Nasham, end. Yadunam, of the Yadu dynasty. Bhagavat, of the personality of Godhead. Gatim, disappearance. Cha, also. Tam, all those. Ek anta, unalloyed. Bhaktya, devotion. Bhagavati, unto the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Adhokshaje, transcendence. Niveshita Atma, with full attention. Upararama, became released from. Samsrite, material existence. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Kunti, after overhearing Arjun's telling of the end of the Yadu dynasty and disappearance of Lord Krishna, engaged in the devotional service of the transcendental personality of Godhead with full attention, and thus gained release from the course of material existence. Purport. The setting of the sun does not mean the end of the sun. It means that the sun is out of our sight. Similarly, the end of the mission of the Lord on a particular planet or universe only means that he is out of our sight. The end of the Yadu dynasty also does not mean that it is annihilated. It disappears, along with the Lord, out of our sight. As Maharaj Yudhishthir decided to prepare to go back to Godhead, so also Kunti decided, and thus she fully engaged herself in the transcendental devotional service of the Lord, which guarantees one a passport for going back to Godhead after quitting this present material body. The beginning of devotional service to the Lord is the beginning of spiritualizing the present body, and thus an unalloyed devotee of the Lord loses all material contact in the present body. The abode of the Lord is not a myth, as is thought by the unbelievers or ignorant people, But one cannot reach there by any material means like a Sputnik or space capsule. But one can certainly reach there after leaving this present body, and one must prepare himself to go back to Godhead by practicing devotional service. That guarantees a passport for going back to Godhead, and Kunti adopted it. Okay. So, um, so yeah, in this verse, when I was reading it, I was thinking about Kunti Maharani. We have read all her prayers, eloquent prayers, which totally tell us that she knows the entire philosophy of Krishna consciousness. And we know that she is a great devotee. She was not just saying those prayers, but she was living her life according to the prayers which are of a pure devotee. And all her life, she had performed unalloyed devotional service. So, at least for me, I was stuck that what other things that she did, like when we read the purport, that she engaged in the devotional service of Bhagwan, and I was like, she spent all her life in that manner. So what was the special thing now that happened? And the I was reading this few times, and then also commentaries of other acharyas, Baldev Vidyabhushan, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and Sri Jiva Goswami. And the what finally I realized through all that was this was the like she when we read this, she gained release from the course of material existence, uh, meant that she just disappeared from this material world. She engaged herself like in complete absorption. So she went in the samadhi state, and in that body itself, she just disappeared and went back to spiritual world. So that was like, oh, okay. I mean, the great devotees, uh, and she's an eternal associate of Bhagwan Sri Krishna. So she had come here along with many other yadus who were also associates of Bhagwan, who had come here on planet Earth just to take part in his leelas. Kunti Maharani had also similarly come, and once this is over, Bhagwan has left, so the drama is now winding down. So she had already lived her life as a pure devotee, but in the final moments, she just fully this word is very important, ekanta bhaktya. So like totally undivided attention. So she went in samadhi, like full undivided attention on Bhagwan, and she got release from the material world. So she just totally immediately went back to Bhagwan. And then I was also reading up the future verses about how did Pandavas and Draupadi Maharani left. And so this is verse 33, and just few after in verse 47 and 48, the Pandavas will be departing. So that the verse explains how they depart, and right after that, in verse number 50, Draupadi's departure is mentioned. And curiously, in all those verses, this Ekanta Bhaktya is mentioned, like how when the Pandavas left, they were in the Ekanta Bhaktya state, and they left this material world in the very same bodies, and they went back to spiritual world. And same for Draupadi also. She went into Ekanta Bhakti because they were devotees, they were practicing all this while. Draupadi, even in her Chirharan time, in all the calamities of her which happened in her life, she was fully fixed in Krishna consciousness. So, and not only during dukh, or even during the happy times, even during the sukh, she was fully, a pure, living the life of a pure devotee. But the speciality happened at this time that they fully absorbed, they went in samadhi, and in the very same bodies, they went back to the spiritual world. So, what a glorious departure of all these devotees, pure devotees. So, the points that, so I mean, that took me in that direction, that how these devotees, how did they get the passport to go back to spiritual world? Srila Prabhupada is using that very word, that one must prepare himself to go back to Godhead by practicing devotion. And Kunti Maharani is a perfect example of that. Like she was preparing to go back, because and by practicing bhakti all her life, and that's how she was guaranteed a passport. So she got the passport for going back to the spiritual world. And it is definitely all the practicing aspiring devotees also want to go back to Bhagwan, not so that they can get release from this miserable state of material world, but because they love Bhagwan. And when you love somebody very dearly, you want to spend your time with that person. You are always looking, thinking about that person, and how can I meet him or her again. So with that kind of mindset, all the pure devotees are fully 100% in love with Bhagwan, and that's why they want to go back to him. So that's the passport we are talking about here. And how can we aspiring devotees also um, get this passport, so that we can also have the hope of going back to Bhagwan? So the answer is also clearly given here: by practicing devotion. And there are multiple verses in Bhagavad Gita which also allude to the same fact, that by practicing unalloyed, like ekanta bhakti, and also at a regular basis, nitya yukta, eka bhakti. So this verse, uh, these words come multiple times in Bhagavad Gita and in Srimad Bhagavatam, when they are describing about pure devotees, that's how they go back. And also, one very important point is that, like in Kunti Maharani's situation, we can see that somebody who has practiced devotion, done acts of bhakti, and also one who, through that, obviously, like it happens all together organically. Like when you're practicing ang of bhakti, limbs of bhakti, you understand who Bhagwan is. You know the tattva of Bhagwan, and you know about all his activities. So, uh, as per Bhagavad Gita 4.9, जन्म कर्म च मे दिव्यम एवं यो वेत्ति तत्वतः त्यक्त्वा deham punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. So in that, Bhagwan Shri Krishna is mentioning these three things: janma, karma cha me divyam. Uh, so somebody who knows about my janma, about my birth, and about my karma, which is my activities, and one who knows me in tattva, who knows Bhagwan's tattva, such a person, when he or she leaves the body, goes back to Bhagwan. Maybe I can open that. Yeah. So, Tyaktva Deham Punarjanma Naiti Mameti So Arjuna. So, Kunti Maharani totally knew Bhagwan in tattva. She knew the tattva of Bhagwan. And she obviously knew about his appearance and all his activities, and which is fully evident. She has left a proof, because her prayers have been captured in Srimad Bhagavatam. Like, we know many devotees who lived their life like this, but Kunti Maharani is special because through her prayers we know exactly that she knows the tattva of Bhagwan in fullness. Um, there are 26 prayers in Canto 1, chapter number 8, and beautifully they capture so many facets about Krishna consciousness. And since she knew this in Tattva, so when she left her deha, tyaktva deham, when she left her body, punarjanam naiti, she did not get a rebirth. She just went back to Bhagwan. So that this is a very applicable verse, or a verse which tells the path, that this is the passport which Srila Prabhupada is talking about. Somebody who knows this will go back to Bhagwan and will be released from this cycle of birth and death, which is a byproduct. Main thing is that uh, they go back to their beloved Bhagwan, whom they love so much. So I wanted to also share a couple of verses from Kunti Maharani's prayers, which show us how much she knows about Bhagwan's tattva. And yeah, 1 second. Mm. Yeah, so let me open which have I opened it already? So 1.8 point, her prayers go from verse number 18 to verse number 43. But I wanted to go over verses which are number 36 and 42. 36, yeah. So in these two verses which I picked up, like all her prayers are very, very beautiful, full of philosophy. That she knows that Bhagwan comes here just like an actor. She calls him as a nutter, and once like so he comes like an actor in a drama, and once the drama is over, he wraps up the drama and goes back. So that's the scene which is happening right now. Bhagwan has wrapped up the drama in this material world, and now he's going back. He has gone back, and all his associates, the other drama participants, are also now going back with him one by one. So Yadus have already gone. Krishna created that fight between them, since there was no other way for anybody else to kill them and send them back, and they were so powerful, all the Yadus. So Krishna created that transcendental Leela where they all just fought among themselves and left. And now all these pure devotees are also going back one by one. So Kunti Maharani is just about to depart. So in this text number 36 from 1.8, Kunti Maharani is also describing as to who gets relief from this repeated birth and death, which and how does one go back to Bhagwan. So the translation is, O Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant, and repeat your transcendental activities or take pleasure in others doing so, certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. So she knows the formula, she knows the passport, what are the conditions to get that passport, and she got it. So she spent her life in continuously hearing about Bhagwan, chanting about him, and repeating, like, Tushyanti cha Ramanti cha, the main activities that devotees do with each other is how it's mentioned in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, that they talk about Bhagwan with each other and derive all pleasure from that activity. So Kunti Maharani and her whole family was devotees, and they would continuously keep talking about Bhagwan's activities with each other. So repeating the activities of Bhagwan and take pleasure in others doing so. So she was although her life was full of calamities, one after the other, but uh, you know, she was also blessed. It's that she was in the association of devotees. All her children and her daughter-in-law Draupadi are all pure devotees, and they would derive pleasure by talking about Bhagwan with each other. And such a person who lives his or her life like this certainly sees your lotus feet. So she knows that this is the process by which we can go back to Bhagwan's lotus feet to serve him there. And this can stop the repetition of birth and death. So no more coming back to the material world, but go back to your eternal position. So I'll just chant this verse one time. शृण्वन्ति गायन्ति गृह्णन्तभीक्षणशः स्मरन्ति नन्दन्ति तवेहितं जना त एव पश्यन्त्यचिरेण तावकं Bhava Pravaho Paramam Padambujam. So Shrunavanti, Shravan, Gayanti is like talk about Bhagwan, doing Kirtan, and Grinanti, thinking about Bhagwan again and again. And Smaran, like when you think about Bhagwan and take pleasure, Nandanti. So this is how when we live our life, then we do not come back to this Bhavasagar. We get released from that and we go back to the lotus feet, Pad Ambujam of Bhagwan Sri Krishna. And then this another verse where I think 42. Yeah. Also, in her prayers, like there are many places in Srimad Bhagavatam where we can pick up these concepts. But in Kunti Maharani's prayers itself, this verse also talks about how she lived her life and how we can learn about living our life so that we can also go back to Bhagwan and also first develop that intense prema for Bhagwan, uh, intense love for him so that we can uh, that'll give us the eligibility, the passport for going back to Bhagwan. So in this verse, which is I think the second last verse, yeah, second last prayer of Kunti Maharani, very very famous verse, very powerful verse where she compares the flow of Ganga to her thoughts. So the translation goes, O Lord of Madhu, as the Ganges forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you without being diverted to anyone else. So, like how Mother Ganga flows from the Himalayas and goes to the sea without any hindrance. She does not get, attracted to any particular valley. Oh, this place is so beautiful. Let me stay here for some time, or let me go here or there. Ganga knows her destination is the ocean, and without so basically again ekanta bhakti, you can imagine, like she is fully focused and finally goes to the ocean without any hindrance. So similarly Kunti Maharani is praying, let my attraction, let my thoughts be constantly drawn to you Bhagwan without being diverted to anyone else. So we can derive some inspiration for ourselves from here, like how Kunti Maharani is praying that may our attention also be fully focused on Bhagwan. It is very hard. Like we are always multitasking and we are attracted to so many glamours of this material world. And even many times simple activities also, it's not glamour, but day-to-day activities. And um, we are putting our focus only into that. And yeah, not remembering Bhagwan as much as we can. Like we many of I waste time, and I know during that time also maybe I can do some bhakti instead of doing this. But yeah, it just happens in the flow. But constantly capturing our wandering mind and bringing it back again and again and remembering these powerful verses left by pure devotees, which show that this is how we should live our life. Try to focus our attention fully on Bhagwan, bring it back wherever it is going from. If it is wandering away, bring it back and let it go in one direction, and that's the way, the passport, as Srila Prabhupada has mentioned, of going back to Bhagwan. Like Mother Ganga goes without never leaves her path and never stops anywhere or gets attracted to anything else. She knows she has to go back to the ocean. So similarly, if we can also live our life, remove all these unwanted things, all the clutter, try to bring our attention back again and again to whichever limb of bhakti we are attracted to, if whether it is reading Bhagavatam or deity service or whatever limbs of bhakti which are direct tongues of bhakti, keep bringing ourselves to that, and then that's how we can have some hope that we can also uh, develop that intense prema for Bhagwan, through which we can go back to him at the end of this life. So through the example of Kunti Maharani and her instructions left for us, we can learn something. I had mm, yeah. So about there were apart from Kunti Maharani's prayers, there were a few more verses in Bhagavad Gita which also give us a similar guidance about Ekanta Bhakti. So it comes at many places, even like in chapter number 8, which in which Bhagwan talks about, how does a person go back, what happens at the time of death, at Antakal. So the famous verse number 8.5, Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nasti atra samshayah. So antakale cha mam eva. So at the antakala, at the time of death, so which is happening right now for Kunti Maharani in this situation. Uh, and what did she do? Antakale cha mam eva. So smaran muktva kalevaram. So she exemplified this. Mam eva smaran. Bhagwan is saying somebody who remembers me alone. And that's exactly what Kunti Maharani did. And so at that time, Yaha Prayati Samadbhavam. So Bhagwan says, whoever at the end of his life quits his body remembering me alone. So Ekanta Bhakti, it's not that you're remembering Krishna and you're also remembering all other things, but me alone. So Kunti Maharani did that through that word which we saw in the verse, Ekanta Bhakti. And through that, she went back to Bhagwan. Of this, there is no doubt. And then there are many the couple more verses in the same chapter 8.7 also alludes to the same concept. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhya cha may arpita manobuddhir mam evashyasi asamshaya. So Bhagwan is telling Arjun that you should always think of me and at the same time do your duty of fighting. So she was also, all her life she had lived like this, that she did all her duties, but along with that, the constant factor was remembrance of Bhagwan Shri Krishna. So if you do that, then you can attain Bhagwan Krishna without doubt. Here again, he says, Mam evashyasi asamshaya. He's always trying to say, don't doubt this process. So Bhagwan Shri Krishna has given us all this theory, and through Arjun, he is also instructing us that there should be no doubt in our mind that if you follow this, what Bhagwan is saying, you will come back to him. So there is no samshaya, there is no samshaya. Both these verses mention that. And then uh, verse number 8 and 9 as well. Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa nanya gamina paramam purusham divyam yati parthanuchintayan. So in this, let me maybe open it here. Or maybe I'll just read so 8.8 of Bhagavad Gita. In that, Bhagwan says, he who meditates on me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, O Partha, is sure to reach me. So one who meditates on Bhagwan, constantly engaged in remembering him, undeviated from the path. This is exactly what Kunti Maharani's prayer is also like, about Mother Ganga, who's undeviated in an undeviated way, flowing from Himalayas to the ocean. So similarly, Bhagwan has also mentioned that you meditate on me constantly, undeviated, and such a person is sure to reach me. And that's exactly what Kunti Maharani's prayer is also. And she ultimately even went back to Bhagwan through this process. Yeah. So this was about, how Kunti Maharani's prayers, which are full of the philosophy, also tell us the way we can live our life in with Ananya Bhakti. Ananya means no, nothing else. Anya. There is nothing else except Bhagwan Shri Krishna, or Ekanta Bhakti, which is again like focus. Focusing is important. Even in physics, like when there are experiments when you take a magnifying glass to focus the rays of sun at a particular point, and if you have a paper below a magnifying glass for enough time, it gets focused and it can has the energy to burn the paper, which normally you don't see things burning up. But when you focus, the energy is so much you capture in one place that magic can happen. So similarly, in our life, we can choose to live our life moment by moment in all kinds of nonsense things, or if we can focus our life moment by moment. It's a decision we take every moment, how we want to spend this moment, uh, toward in bhakti or not in bhakti. So if we can keep focusing like that magnifying glass which captures all the sun's rays and focuses on that paper, so similarly if we can also focus all our energy in the bhakti, so ekanta bhakti, ananya bhakti, then we can make some magic can happen in our life as well. um so in this verse, there was one more thing which we could quickly touch upon and close for today, since today we are going to read the entire Srimad Bhagavad Gita at the temple. So uh, we discussed in the beginning that we can probably close a little earlier today so that devotees have time to reach temple before the recitation starts at 10 o'clock. So yeah, the disappearance of Bhagwan Shri Krishna. So in this verse, when Kunti Maharani has heard the news that Bhagwan Shri Krishna has departed, in fact, in this verse, today's verse, it also mentioned Bhagavati Gatim, like Bhagwan has left. So how Bhagwan left is also very, a magical thing which happened when Bhagwan Shri Krishna left. It how Kunti Maharani, Pandavas, and Draupadi just left in that very same body, went back to the spiritual world. So obviously, when Bhagwan Krishna, his when his departure is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is mentioned in the Canto 11. Last chapter is about disappearance of Bhagwan Shri Krishna, and in the previous chapter also a few verses where when Bhagwan finally wanted to leave, his chariot went up. So not only Bhagwan's own body, even his chariot and all his weapons, they are all, coming from the spiritual world. When Bhagwan comes here, his dham, all his paraphernalia is also divya. They are all, made of the spiritual element. So that chariot rose up in the sky. And by this time, may all the Devi Devatas, including Bhagwan Brahma ji and Bhagwan Shiv, they all also came to this area, Prabhas Kshetra, to witness this pastime of Bhagwan's disappearance. And they were all congregated there because they knew Bhagwan is about to depart. But when Bhagwan left, it was as if a lightning came from the cloud and nobody could see anything. It was like so dazzling. And suddenly in that, Bhagwan disappeared. So some it's mentioned, maybe I can open that verse. It was also very nice how Bhagwan left. The people, they were all waiting to see that moment, but only very few were able to. So you have to have Divya Drishti and uh, divine vision, and also the permission of Bhagwan as to who can see and who cannot see Bhagwan's disappearance. So I had opened it somewhere, but I guess I have to just go the base. Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto 11, last disappearance of Bhagwan Shri Krishna. And here. So this is the last chapter. So Brahma ji with Bhagwan Shiva, all the sages, Siddhas, basically everybody, all devotees had appeared, had come here to the Prabhas Kshetra to see the departure of Bhagwan. And these two verses, 8 and 8 to 10, uh, most of the demigods and other higher beings led by Brahma could not see Lord Krishna as he was entering his own abode, since he did not reveal his movements. But some of them did catch sight of him and they were extremely amazed. And verse number 9 mentions like the example of that lightning. Just as ordinary men cannot ascertain the path of a lightning bolt as it leaves a cloud, the demigods could not trace out the movements of Lord Krishna as he returned to his abode. A few of the demigods, however, notably Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, could ascertain how the Lord's mystic power was working, and thus they became astonished. All the demigods praised the Lord's mystic power and then returned to their own planets. And actually, some of these demigods had taken birth as Yadus and had now just departed. So they were all amshas of these demigods, and they had all annihilated. So it's all like a big drama that Bhagwan had orchestrated, and now it was time to close the show and leave from here. And that's what is happening in this chapter. The verse for today showed how Kunti Maharani just disappeared from this world, and in future verses we'll see the about the remaining devotees. So yeah, I from Kunti Maharani's departure. One main point that we can see learn for ourselves is that we should also try to live like Kunti Maharani when um, or follow the instructions that she has left, or read her prayers and get inspiration from that about this ekanta bhakti of focused, having focus in our life, just like how Ganga flows, and always constantly shravanti gayanti, hearing about Bhagwan and doing kirtan of Bhagwan and smaran of Bhagwan. So all these three important limbs of bhakti, shravan, kirtan, smaran, try to implement that in a continuous manner or as much time as possible in our life, and that will give us the passport of going back to Bhagwan. Okay, so it's 8:45. I'll close from my side. Thank you so much, all the devotees, for patiently being here. If you have any corrections or anything you would like to add, um, or any questions, you can please share that.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for a nice lecture. Dear devotees, does anyone have any reflections, comments, appreciation for Mataji's lecture today? Damodar Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Even with your busy schedule, you covered all the points. I really liked one point that you mentioned about the uh, lens and the focus of the light on the paper. Even though we may have lens and then we may have a paper, and even though the lights are there, and let's say if we are holding our lens and then trying to focus on it on the paper and not maybe not focusing it, but it's just a big spot, but even then it will not burn the paper. And then let's say if the spot is a little diffused, so I was thinking like even if we have all the shastras and even if we have a paper like heart, we may not be able to burn that anartha until unless we focus it with a particular I mean at a particular position only. If the lens is held, then only it will burn that paper. So that I
Yeah.
really like that. Thank you, Mataji, for sharing that. Yeah.
Thank you, Rosie. You are in the optics field, right? You could tot- you're
Yes, Mataji.
yeah
Okay.
talking to a PhD here about optics. Yeah. Sure, Rosie. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Danut Pranam. Uh, Thank you so much for the very nice, very wonderful class, Mataji. You covered so many points, like you glorified Kunti Maharani, how glorious her departure was, and what mood we should have the Ekanta Bhakti, like Damodar Krishna Prabhu, he just spoke. You mentioned about how Kunti Maharani knew the complete Bhagavad Tattva, Sambandha Jnana of Bhagwan, and how that is a very important thing in our devotional process. So wonderful lecture, very, very inspiring. So thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. There is a question online from Krishna Murari Prabhu.
Okay.
Exactly magic happens and way it happens you are sharing. A lens and focus to get our passport back to Godhead. That was Prabhu's question. His specific question was about the magic, what you mentioned.
Question or comment, Prabhuji?
It's a question. What is magic, or what exactly magic happens?
What exactly magic happens?
Yeah. And where it happens.
Well, magic by definition, you would not know the trick. The I'm not getting the question exactly, but what's the magic that happens when you put the lens? Is the physics part of that, or
And
is it
that's what
about
I
how?
understood, Mataji, because he texted me. I tried to call him, but yeah, unfortunately, the message, that's what it says. Yeah, I mean, the question says, "What is magic?" Mataji is talking about. That was his question.
Okay, as far as physics is concerned, it's not a magic. Like when we focus the sun's rays at a particular spot, and how Damodar Krishna Prabhu was explaining, he is, uh, you know, at the uh, at a particular angle, and if it is fully focused, it can create so much energy that the paper gets burned. Again, my husband is also here, and Damodar Krishna Prabhu, the physics people can explain it even better. But yeah, that part is not the magic. When we convert that analogy and try to apply it in the area of bhakti, then it is magical, because it's magical because it's not like exactly like laws of physics. In physics, you can reproduce that experiment again and again. Whoever does, there is no qualification of the person who is holding the paper. Um, Anybody who holds a paper at a particular angle towards the sun will be able to burn the paper. But when we apply that analogy in our life of bhakti, it is not a guaranteed reproduction every time. It is so much dependent on how we are approaching Bhagwan, and whether we get Bhagwan's mercy or not. We cannot control Bhagwan. We cannot demand that I have put my lens correctly, my paper is there, it has to burn. No, it may or may not burn. The magic has to happen, and the magic is Bhagwan's kripa. Like in Damodar pastime also, how much ever Mother Yashoda, did the effort of tying down Bhagwan Damodar, but only when his kripa happened, she was able to tie him down. So we can have this paper and the sun and the magnifying glass, how much ever we want. But in the case of bhakti, when Bhagwan's kripa will happen, then the magic will happen, that our hearts, all our anathas will be destroyed, and will be, um, we can, our hearts will become so pure and full of prema that we go back to Bhagwan. So that part is not a guarantee like a physics experiment. I I hope that's what I can offer here.
Sure, Mataji. Thank you. Hopefully, Krishna Murari Prabhu might have heard it online. There might be some delay of 10 seconds, but he might be hearing it online on YouTube.
Yeah, if other devotees want to share anything on this matter, please, all of you are very great devotees, and uh, you have thought about it way more than me. I mean, please share. It's not about more or less, but um, anybody else can offer any clarification.
Meanwhile, I got an acknowledgement from Krishna Murari Prabhu that it's super answer. Thanks, amazing class.
Thank you. You all are very kind.
Thank you, Mataji, for a nice lecture covering various aspects of this verse, especially highlighting Queen Kunti's Ekanta Bhakti. I mean, you covered various verses across Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, especially Kunti's unalloyed devotion to Bhagwan. And especially Srila Prabhupada is truly the master of analogies. If we see this verse or purport, personally, I don't have qualification to speak about Srila Prabhupada's greatness, but in this purport, I see three wonderful analogies Srila Prabhupada has used. The sunset analogy, comparing with Krishna's disappearance, and the Sputnik and the space capsule.
Hmm.
spiritual world is not reachable by any material means. And the third one, which we had a detailed discussion about, the passport to devotional service is the passport to return to back to Godhead. And even you added a wonderful analogy related to the magnifying glass, teaching us how to focus our consciousness fully on Bhagavan. And thank you for an inspiring class, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. You all are very, very kind with your words and offering praises, although I'm not deserving. But thank you so much.
Mataji, I like this,
Mataji. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Prabhu.
this point that you were making of the choices we had from day to day and moment to moment. I mean, you said this nice remembrance. Remember many years ago, my Guru Maharaj made this point that we always have a choice. We can choose Krishna, or we can choose Maya. It was just reminding me of that. So thank you. This is it's very nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Just like every other devotee noted, I wanted to give my great appreciation for the wonderful lecture. Thank you for walking us through the beautiful prayers of Queen Kunti. The analogy about when she talks about how Mother Ganga flows uninterrupted into the ocean, it's always stuck very close to my heart. Thank you for bringing that up. And it was a beautiful lecture with so many verses from Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you so much again. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Anita. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, devotees. Thank you, Mataji. If no further questions, let us join for Bhagavad Gita recitation at 10 a.m. from temple today.
Yes.
Morning 10 to 12:30 we'll be reciting Sanskrit verses, and the afternoon session post Prashadam will be reciting English translations. Thank you everyone for joining. Expecting everyone from this group to join in temple as well. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.